After my mother insulted my daughter, I left her party, and now the family's treating me like I committed a crime. I never thought it would come to this. Anna, my stepdaughter, has been in my life for over a decade now. We met when she was just a toddler, and ever since then, she's been part of my heart. She was 2 when my husband and I married, and from day one, I took on the role of her mother. There's no hesitation in saying that I love her as deeply as my own biological children. To me, she's mine in every way that matters. But then there's my mom. A woman I've always respected, but who has never really taken to Anna. Not outright, anyway. There was never a clear explanation, just this subtle sense that my mother had a problem with my daughter. I used to chalk it up to the fact that Anna wasn't my biological child, but I never wanted to believe that my mom could hold something like that against her. For a long time, I tried to ignore it, but the signs were always there. Anna, though sweet and hardworking, could never seem to win my mother's approval. And for some reason, my mom's behavior towards Anna became worse when it came to something that I thought could be a shared joy, cooking. I'd been teaching Anna to cook over the years, and she took to it like a natural. It was something that bonded us, something that felt good and wholesome. I was proud of her progress. Last year, Anna asked me if she could bring her cooking to family gatherings, like the potlucks we always hosted. Of course, I said yes. My heart swelled as she took the time to perfect her dishes. But when my mom tasted Anna's cooking, things started to change. At first, it was small things. Suggestions on how to season a dish differently, or how to adjust the cooking time on something. But soon, my mother's critiques became more pointed. She was no longer offering gentle advice, but outright criticism of Anna's food. I had never heard her criticize anyone else's dishes, and it made me wonder why Anna was the only target. It all came to a head one Thanksgiving. Anna had spent hours preparing a casserole, a dish she was particularly proud of. When my mother tasted it, she didn't hold back. She bluntly declared that it was disgusting and completely inedible. Anna's face dropped, and I could see how hurt she was. That was when I'd had enough. I told my mother to stop, to lay off my daughter. Anna was doing her best, and it wasn't easy. But my mom just brushed me off as if what she'd said didn't matter. That was the last straw. This week, we were all supposed to be celebrating my mother's birthday. A special occasion, meant for family to come together and share in the joy of the day. I thought it would be a good chance for Anna to show my mom that she was trying, that she was improving, and maybe, just maybe, my mother would see how much Anna genuinely cared. I had some curry my mom had made months ago. She'd given it to me to freeze, and I thought it would be the perfect dish to bring. So, I reheated it and told everyone at the party that Anna had worked really hard to make it, just like how her grandmother used to. Immediately, I could sense the tension. My mom's eyes narrowed as soon as the curry was brought out, and she didn't even wait to taste it before she started in on her critique. "There's too much spice," she muttered, barely looking up. "The chicken's overcooked. This is nothing like how I make it." I was stunned. Anna wasn't even the one who had cooked it, and my mom knew it. I watched Anna's face fall, the same way it always did when my mom found something to nitpick. But it wasn't just the spice level or the chicken. My mom went further, telling Anna that maybe she should stop bringing food to potlucks altogether. It was like a punch to the gut. How could she say that to her own granddaughter? I felt a rage building inside me, something I had been holding back for far too long. I couldn't stay silent anymore. I stood up, my voice sharper than I intended, and said, "Actually, that's your curry, Mom. I just reheated it and Anna didn't cook it." The room went silent. My mother froze, her face flushing with the sudden realization that she'd just humiliated herself. She sputtered, trying to backpedal. I wasn't criticizing Anna specifically," she stammered. "I was just giving some constructive feedback." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I'd heard these excuses before, and they never felt genuine. So, why treat my daughter like this? Why do you keep tearing her down? I demanded, the frustration spilling over. That was when she finally admitted it. "I don't see her as my real granddaughter," she said quietly, the words cutting through the tension in the room like a knife. I couldn't breathe for a moment. The truth was out, and it was more hurtful than anything I had expected. How could my own mother say that about a child who had given her nothing but respect and love? I felt my heart drop, like someone had just ripped it out of my chest. The room felt too small, like the walls were closing in. My mother's words hung in the air, suffocating the space between us. I couldn't process what I had just heard. She didn't see Anna as her real granddaughter? I could feel Anna standing there, holding her breath, trying to make sense of it too. Her eyes flickered with hurt, though she didn't say a word. The silence between us all was deafening. My mother just stared at me, and for a moment, I could see the defensiveness creeping back into her face. But the damage was done. I couldn't stand there another second. My voice, though trembling with anger and disbelief, was firm as I spoke. "That's it, Mom. This is enough. I've tried so hard to make you feel included, to make Anna feel like she belongs, but you're making it impossible." My hand instinctively reached for Anna's, squeezing it tightly in my own, trying to give her some kind of reassurance. "I'm taking my family and we're leaving. This is over," I said. Anna looked up at me, her eyes wide, and I could see the faint glimmer of tears threatening to spill. But she held it together. She was so strong, this girl. But I knew that what my mother had said would stay with her for a long time. I didn't know if she'd ever get over hearing those words from someone she should have been able to trust the most. Someone who should have loved her unconditionally. I found my husband, Anna, and my other children, and I told them it was time to go. As we gathered our things, I could hear my mother muttering behind us, but I didn't turn around. I wasn't going to let her drag me back into this toxic space. Not today, not ever again. When we reached the car, my husband didn't look angry, but there was a certain disappointment in his eyes that I couldn't ignore. I knew he was upset with the situation, but I could also tell he didn't fully understand why I'd made the decision to leave. "You know I've got your back," he said quietly, "but maybe we should have stayed, finished the dinner, and let things calm down. We'd already made our point." I shook my head, feeling the weight of my decision. "No, I don't think there's anything left to say, Ryan. This wasn't just about the dinner or the curry. This was about something much bigger. My mother doesn't respect Anna. And I'm done pretending like that's okay." He sighed, his hand brushing through his hair as he leaned back in the seat. I knew he wanted to keep the peace, but this wasn't something I could let slide anymore. I had to protect Anna, even if it meant cutting off the toxic people in our lives. As we pulled out of the driveway, I glanced at Anna in the back seat. She was quiet, staring out the window. I wanted to say something to comfort her, but I wasn't sure what to say. What could I say? I was angry, and I wasn't sure how I could make this better. How could I explain to her that someone who should have been her ally had hurt her so deeply? But I wasn't going to let this go. I'd made a promise to myself and to Anna that I would fight for her always. And I wasn't about to let my mother tear her down any longer. The days that followed felt like a blur. My phone blew up with messages from family members, all of them questioning why I'd left the party, why I'd made such a dramatic decision. Most of them sided with my mother, as I had expected. The texts ranged from genuine concern to passive-aggressive comments about how I'd ruined the family celebration. But the one message that stung the most came from my own sister. She told me I was overreacting, that I should have just let things go and stayed at the party. "It's just a little criticism," she wrote. "Why not just talk it out with Mom?" It's not like she meant to hurt anyone. I didn't even bother responding. What was there to say? How could I explain that this wasn't about some petty argument or minor disagreement? This wasn't just my mother nitpicking Anna's cooking or making snide comments about her casserole. It was something deeper, something that had been festering for years. It was about respect, and my mother's inability to give it to Anna. That night, after the kids had gone to bed, I sat down with Ryan to talk. He was still on my side, but I could tell the whole situation was weighing on him too. He wasn't sure if I'd made the right call by leaving, but he understood why I was upset. "I get why you're angry," he said, his voice steady but concerned. "But we've got to think about the future here. We can't keep letting this divide the family." I sighed, rubbing my temples. I don't want to keep fighting. But how can I keep showing up for family gatherings when I know Anna is being treated like this? How can I tell her it's okay when my own mother won't accept her? This isn't just a family issue anymore. This is personal. Ryan nodded slowly. I know. I just think, maybe we're letting the whole thing spiral out of control. Is cutting ties really the solution? I shook my head, though I wasn't sure anymore. I don't know what the solution is, Ryan. But I do know that I can't keep pretending everything's fine when it's not. Anna deserves better. She deserves to feel like she's part of this family. The next few days were filled with silence from my mother. She didn't call, didn't send any messages, nothing. It was like she was punishing me for standing up to her, for choosing Anna over her. And the worst part was, I wasn't even sure if she knew what she had done wrong. I thought about the conversation we'd had at the party, and the more I replayed it in my head, the more I realized how deeply my mother's words had cut. She had made it clear, without any hesitation, that she didn't see Anna as one of her own. That was something I could never just let slide. How could I, as a mother, stand by and let that happen? How could I expose my children, especially Anna, to someone who could turn so cold so easily? A week passed, and I couldn't shake the feeling of isolation that came from being cut off from the rest of my family. It wasn't just about the holiday party or the curry. It was about everything that had been left unsaid, about years of me trying to make excuses for my mom's behavior. And now, it felt like I couldn't take it anymore. Finally, I decided to reach out to my mom. I wasn't ready to let the relationship end, not without trying to have one last conversation. I picked up the phone and called her, my hands shaking as the dial tone rang. Hello? Her voice sounded distant, like she was unsure of how to even speak to me. Mom, I began, swallowing my emotions. We need to talk. The silence on the other end was thick with tension. She didn't say anything, but I could hear her breathing, waiting for me to continue. I don't know if you realize how much what you said hurt Anna, but you can't keep doing this. You can't keep treating her like she doesn't matter. I wasn't trying to hurt anyone, she said defensively, but I could hear the weakness in her voice. I thought I was helping her. You know how much I care about you, right? I do, I said quietly. But this isn't just about me. This is about Anna. You've hurt her, and you need to own up to that. There was a long pause before she spoke again, her voice quieter now. I didn't mean to push her away. I don't know how to fix this, but I don't want to lose you. I don't want to lose you either, Mom. But you need to understand something. I paused, letting the weight of my words settle in. Anna is my family. She's my daughter, just as much as anyone else. You can't keep treating her like an outsider. Not anymore. It was the first time in a long time that I felt like I was being heard. My mother didn't apologize, not directly anyway, but her tone softened. And for the first time, I felt like there was a sliver of hope that she might come to understand, someday, just how deeply her actions had affected us. We didn't resolve everything right away. The tension was still there, thick and palpable. But at least we had taken the first step towards healing. And in the meantime, I made it clear to Anna that I would always have her back, no matter what. I wasn't going to let anyone, not even my own mother, make her feel less than. She deserved to be treated with love and respect always. As for family gatherings? For now, I wasn't sure when we'd attend again. I needed time to figure out how to navigate this new reality. But one thing was certain, my family might be fractured, but Anna would never have to feel like she wasn't enough. Because to me, she was everything.